Get up in here. Get up in here. I am the police saint. And let me fix myself for y'all. Yeah, I gotta get my hat on because the sun is beaming, Willie beaming. Yeah. But as promised, I'm up in here today for y'all because I slipped up out of here yesterday. Ain't even gonna lie to y'all. I was invited to a party and I am so happy that I went. It was an amazing time. It was a good time. I had a blast. So here we go. Who are the 144,000 is the discussion for today. If you up in here and you can hear me, please let me know that you can hear me because I don't want to waste 20, 30, 40 minutes of my time talking and can't be heard. Yeah. So, if you here, do me some motherfucking yeah. Get up in here. How you doing, Pat Whammy? Get up in here. I'm imagining you can hear me because you didn't say you can't. So, let's go. 144,000, right? So 144,000. What is 144,000? Clearly, it's not all of us, right? Everybody can't beat 144,000. Matter of fact, if you do the math on it, probably one in every 500,000 or one in every 50,000, something like that, would be in this number. So, um, I actually made some notes to keep me on track and on topic with this subject and to keep me going in the right direction because y'all know I can be all over the place. But each note, there is 9 different tests, okay, that you have to endure to get up in the number. And here's the thing: the 144,000 are reincarnated souls, so they have already been redeemed. And meaning they came here, they did their business already, you know what I'm saying, proving themselves, you know what I'm saying, and now they back again to help some of us here in this time to get it together. Yeah. So, some of the things that are necessary to get up in here is some tests, right? I always talk about tests and passing those tests, going through different levels of different experiences, and coming through those things shiny and new. And so those people who have made it into the higher levels of ascension have had to endure these tests, and the only way to get up in there is to endure these tests. And most people don't want to endure these tests. Why? Because we want to be in control. We want things to go the way we believe they should, which, I mean, and that's cool because you are in control, right? You're co creating your reality and it's individualized for every person. And so you should always have compassion for what another person is creating for themselves because that is what their destiny is. And you have to mind your business. So, but this the craze of the 144,000 and twin flames. Everybody wants to be the 144,000. Everybody wants to be a twin flame. But I'm going to break down both of those. And then if you ain't been through these tests, okay, and you have not overcome all of this shit, I can probably more than 100% guarantee you that you are not in a twin flame union and that you are not, okay, that you are not in the 144,000. Now, just because you're not in the 144,000 does not mean that you're not getting into heaven. That's where the lie is. That's where the trick is. The 144,000 were already redeemed and they come here to help others to get up in there. Okay, now, one of the things that the Bible points out very clearly about the 144,000 is a song. Okay, they all know a song. That means they speak a language that is produces a frequency that connects to God, and so they probably may be a siren of some sort, or they have some kind of vocal ability that produces a frequency. Okay, not just sound, not just words, but a frequency, and therefore that is one of the other things that dictates a person or will let you know they are, or if you are in fact part of the 144,000. But there's the 9 tests. There's 9 levels of tests that you have to go through. The first one is the void. Okay, the void. What is the void? The void is the deep depths of yourself, the deep depths of your internal experience in this external place. And so the void is the place of where you have no uh, boundaries, no limits, no walls, no things of comparison, right? Everything just is, and the void is just dark. When you think of a void, you just think of darkness. And so the void is a space and time where you dissolve within the self, okay? And the self becomes nothingness, and everything around you becomes nothingness. Um, this is the number one thing, okay? Because you got to get into the void to get up in here, right? And so that space of unknowingness, I don't know where I'm going, I don't know what this is about, I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm just with it and I'm here for it because this is what's in my soul. If you're one of those people, you might be in 144,000. If you are a person who are entering the void, and here's the thing: the 144,000, most of them were in the first wave of awakening, some in the second, but the grand majority of them were in the first wave of awakening. And that happened as the Mayan calendar depicted it December 21st of 2012. So um, next, and the thing is that some of them were awakened or awakening prior to that, but there was like a shift. That was the first shift, major shift that all of humanity felt. But anyway, the void. In the void, you realize that there is no you, me, us, nothing. It's just everything just is, and it's just empty. Here to get into the void. One of the things that you have to definitely do is face your fear of uncertainty. You have to kill that fear, which is one thing that will keep most people out of entering into the void, is because people fear what they do not know. People fear what they cannot control. People fear what they cannot see. People fear what they cannot manipulate. People fear what is greater than their ideations. And so you got to get real comfortable with trusting the fact that nothingness is everything and that you are a part of that nothingness. And then that's how you get tapped in. Next one is the ego. Next, there has to be a murder of your ego. Maybe I shouldn't say that word in here. I don't know, but you got to kill your ego. You got to take your ego and smash it. What is the ego? Your ego is that conscious part of yourself that is subconsciously serving your pride, which is an illusion. And so you have to get to the point where your ego is in check and not stopping your experience. Because see, the ego, we affirm our fears. We give into our fears. We like let that motherfucker run us. We like do all kind of shit that allows the fear to fester. And so you got to get beyond that. And so the ego stops us because we won't do a lot of things because we fear death because of our ego. We want to live forever. And so we won't take risks. We won't go that extra mile, or we won't do the uncertain thing, or we won't go into that uncertain space because we want to be in alignment with what everybody else got going on. And so that is ego. Ego says that I need to fit in. Ego says I need to be accepted. Ego says I need to be affirmed. Ego says, all of this crap that actually eases God out. And so when you are on this journey and you're seeking to be servants of God, because that's what the 144,000 represents, servants of God. Okay, so there it didn't say servants of thyself. It didn't say servants that they serve God. And so your whole thing is to trust God and give in to the will of God, which leads into uncertainty and definitely a death of the ego. So, uh, the other thing about the ego that I marked here is that ego um, lets us know that we are bigger than we think. See, in our ego, we have limits of what we are based upon our ideation of self, our own personal experiences, our own personal how we've been affirmed or how we've been characterized by external forces, people, i.e., people who don't know or like themselves. And so to be in the number, you definitely have to separate from the ego and needing other people's validation, even your own, because the ego again is only serving your pride. Okay, and so it creates limits And so in that, you will forget just how powerful you are. Because see, your ego might say, well, I'm not that great. Yeah, see, we think ego is always something good, but it isn't necessarily. And so it'll talk you out of your greatness. So make sure that you understand that too. um, the ego also like will make you want to stay the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this is just who I am. This is how I've always been, and this is, how I have to be. Or this, when in fact we are constantly changing and evolving into what is necessary. Because remember, the number one thing of a person or being working for God is to be totally adaptable. And so it is necessary to be adaptable. So if you struggle with adaptability and change, then it's very possible. Unfortunately, you're not in that number. Now, for the 144,000, um, they have constantly had to change, but and so the thing is, willingly made these changes without too much fight or resistance. Because if so, then they wouldn't be in 144,000. So, um, fear of mortality. So the next thing is you have to kill the fear of mortality. So people who are in the 144,000, they're not worried about death. They don't even care about that. Like it's like something that just happened. Why? Because you understand that death is merely a transition from one space to the next. Okay, so if you're one of these people who's moping and crying about your cousin that you lost in 1973, probably not in 144,000. If you're a person who have lost a loved one that you cannot get over that loss, and it's impacting you, unfortunately, in a deep emotional way, and you cannot understand or relate to the need for that being to transition to another space, then probably not in that number. Um, so next, your own death, right? Again, the ego, fear of death, trying to keeping yourself from doing things. If you're not being your most authentic self because you don't want to die, or you don't want to be outcasted, or you don't want to be uh, in any way cut off. Because we have death in not only physical aspects, but in our waking life, we have deaths that are very necessary for us to go from one stage to the next. And so there's constantly a death happening, and you have to get to the point where you're unafraid of those deaths, because now you're not resisting the always ever changing waves or titles that are presented to you for you to get to the greatest version of yourself. In order to get up in the 144,000, these people had to consistently pick the right choice, and that's you know a hard thing to do. So most of us are not in the 144,000. Most of us are not in twin flame unions. Not this lifetime. Doesn't mean you won't ever make it there, but not this lifetime. So next, uh, intuition and heightened connectivity. These people are like highly intuitive and super connected. They have high telepathy. They can make phone calls without phones. They can see things without being there. They can hear things without being there. They can smell things. They have different senses because there's a heightened connectivity and awareness of their surrounding here, but also too higher realms and dimensions. So they understand that this is not that the universe, right? The universe, which is you and I's individual verse within the multiverse, um, that it is greater than that, okay? And we are greater than that. And so there's a connection. And so these people oftentimes are perceivers of metaphysical knowledge. They can intuitively pull in things. One of the things, if you believe you are 144,000 and you might be struggling, one of the things, this is one of the places you can get held up at, is not trusting your intuition. You have to learn to trust your intuition and follow it. Like, so that sixth sense or higher knowing, whatever it is, you have to truly trust that in order to be a true servant of God. Because see, this is how God actually communicates with us. It's through these six senses. And so if you want to be in this number and you want to be in that number, or you want to make it back home, you have to remember that your intuition is more important than people affirming you. I just had a discussion with a young man the other day, where he had a lot of similar placements to mine, and it's like, listen, bro, you can't base your decisions on what other people are saying, because those people, they may have good intentions, but they can't see what you're seeing because they don't have what you have. And so when they don't have that, they could very well be giving you advice that sounds good to them based upon their experience. But since they don't have the connection to a higher source that you have, they cannot tell you what you should be doing. They tell you what they think they should be doing. They tell you what they wish they would have did, but they cannot tell you what you should be doing. And when you say things or you know things that you don't know how you know, it's important to understand that that's your position. It has nothing to do with trying to get Joe Schmo and Billy and Bob and Aunt Jane and Uncle Johnny and everybody to agree with that shit. No. You better follow what you know. And so, intuitive connection, heightened awareness of environment is very prevalent. The ability to be in multiple places at once. Um, the other thing is this person, these people are highly vulnerable. Okay, and so they are open to a lot of different energies, and they are very sensitive on like several different levels. And so, if this is you, then it's best to master your intuition and follow it because it is what protects you. The other thing is to understand that uh, it's required to be vulnerable. So if you're a person that's not comfortable being vulnerable, like you're just not comfortable being basically naked in front of the world, that type of vulnerability, then you're probably not in that number. And I want y'all to know I'm not making this video to in any way discourage anybody from believing they are the 144,000. I am making this video to help you to see that it takes a lot of work to be in the 144,000. It's not something that just you can just claim. It's not like the Crips and Bloods. You just claim it and show up, and then you hear, and now you can work your way through the ranks. That's not the way this works. I already told y'all in a previous video that God ain't letting no ops into heaven, and so we have to go through a series of trials and tests down here to ensure that we return back just as pure as we came. Um, Now, those that are in the 144,000 have had to endure a very terrible life to make it to, because that was part of the challenge. The enemy obviously knew that these people were here, whether you knew it or not. And so there's always a concerted effort to take out those who represent the seed of God. So, um, next is uh, being able to see God in everything, right? Um, and this comes through heightened intuition, that heightened connection, breaking down the walls and allowing yourself to connect to everything allows you to connect and see God in everything and everyone, because God does reside in everything and everyone. Like, that's true. Um, and that sounds crazy for those of you who are gonna say, "Well, I thought you said we're not God. We aren't God. Okay, we have God in us." And depending on what we're choosing, that God grows. But um, the essence of God is in everything, and you can see that when you get to this point of um, killing the ego, letting go of your fear of death, right? Breaking any limits that you have. Learning to see everything through your intuition versus your eyes, um, because your intuition is your chief compass, right? It's going to lead you every which way that you need to go at the perfect time, perfect moment, to get you where you need to be for your assignment. So, uh, seeing God in everything means that you have come to the point where nothingness has become everything. Right? It's a trip because it's a process, and uh, this whole thing isn't linear, so it can go in different. Like I'm saying, these 9 things they can be in different orders for different people at different stages of our lives. All of us are on a soul evolution journey, and so our souls are at different points for different reasons at different times. And so, uh, people ask me, well, everybody obviously isn't good. Well, everything isn't, God isn't always good, if we're putting it in terms of good or bad, because there's some things that are directly orchestrated by God that are not good or seen as good in a practical way. So, but that leads to the next point. Um, um, of appreciating and having compassion for everything, even when you don't understand it. So even when you don't see the good in it or God in it, you understand and appreciate God's divine design. And so you have compassion for people based upon where they are. There could be people who, are in shitty situations or have, created things for themselves that are not ideal, or that looking at them you wouldn't create them for yourself, and so you can see them as good or bad. But in reality, you should have compassion for all people, but that compassion starts for yourself, right? And so you have to enter into the void of nothingness and realize the depths of yourself, the purpose of yourself, the why of yourself. Have that ego death. Get past the fear of dying. Get past all of your um, holdups in this life, all of your attachments, right? So that you can get to this point of oneness. Um, Next is solitude. Um, and I know this sounds crazy because it's like, well, I'm connected to everything, right? Yeah, you are. We're all connected to everything. But people who are in this number, they require an immense amount of solitude. Not solitude to the point where they necessarily neglect relationships and connections, but solitude to the point where they have the time and space to replenish themselves. Because once you make it to the point of seeing God in everything, you come to a point of unconditional love. And that unconditional love has to be balanced with the variations of experiences that you will have, because some of those experiences are light, some of those experiences are dark, some people are nice, some people are nasty, and so you're going to have experiences that are much out of your control. However, your response to those things and how you are learning and developing through them is up to you and very crucial for your own personal ascension. So, solitude. Solitude has to happen so that the beings or servants of God can hear God. See, God is in everything, but everything ain't God. So a lot of the times, the people you listening to, the people hanging around, they might not have God. Okay, they can be a distraction. If you got too much distraction, you could be cut off from your information, and that's very important and vital to a person that's in 144,000. So, how much alone time and solitude is a person taking? You know, now the solitude is also important for allowing one to remember to remember. Okay, because man, it can get rough. When you are charged to be a good person and people want to play on your top, it can get rough. It can get rough out here in these streets when you want to be doing what God wants you to do, but people want to be testing you, and you looking at them and you seeing a person and you're not necessarily understanding the spirit right in the person. So it's a lot of challenge to this, but solitude helps you to reflect, it helps you to replenish, it helps you to restore, it helps you to revive, all of the things necessary for you to give to humanity from the greatest place of yourself. And so, um, I already touched on that. Okay, and solitude also helps. So, for me, solitude helps me to get ready for my next mission. I can encounter thousands of different energies in one instance, and then depending on the environment or how fast things are moving, I don't necessarily have the time to process. And so solitude is important for me to do a review so that I can reflect and do some reconciliation over what I've taken in, what I've let go of, what I've and there has to be a period of integration that restores me back to my personal peace. Um, Impermanence. You got to get to the point where you understand nothing is permanent. Relationships, friendships, jobs, housing, nothing is permanent. Like you get to this place where you're comfortable with impermanence, and understanding that like even myself, sometimes I'm in a space I might be there to serve somebody for 3 weeks. Sometimes I'm in a space to serve somebody for a month. Sometimes I'm in a space to serve somebody for a day. Um, but my circumstances ever changing, and the impermanence and accepting impermanence is required because if not, you can very easily get to a point of refusing, or resistance, because it's like I don't want this to change, or I don't want these people to go away. It's been people that I've loved dearly that I've had to be away from, or walk away from, or never see again, or never, impermanence. There's nothing permanent on this planet, and so things come. There's been things that I've owned that I really, really liked, but I had to let them go. They're not mine for permanent. And you'll have to go through this challenge and test to make it up in this number. Um, and it's impermanence. Accepting impermanence is ultimately how you get into the flow of prosperity, because in impermanence, you're always in the flow, and so you're not resisting in any way, trying to hold on to ideas, people, places, situations, circumstances, and stuff like that. Next is loss of judgment. Okay, when you get to the point where you lose judgment for everything, like you don't have any judgment over people, circumstances. It just you recognize that first of all, condemnation doesn't belong to any of us. I don't have a right to condemn you. You don't have a right to condemn me. I don't have a right to condemn myself. You don't have a right to condemn yourself. We shouldn't condemn ourselves, and we shouldn't condemn others. We should just always be grateful for the lessons that we're constantly learning throughout this experience of life, and how that leads to our evolution. Okay, because remember, you're always going to the next level, and if you're taking time for solitude, then you can see how what you experienced or what you went through prepared you for something that you come into. Even when you don't know what you're coming to. Um, Next, oh, loss of judgment. Judgment. Losing judgment also takes away expectation. Like, oh, well, what do I want? Or, you know, um, trying to compare or trying to control the outcome or narrative of things. When we lose judgment over things and detach from judgment, we're able to just accept, honor, have compassion, love, faithfulness, gentleness, all the things that are required, right, for us to actually be in the fruit. And so, if you are partaking of the fruit and you are living that thing, then you understand that you are in the right space. You're in that number. The last one is peace, inner peace. One has to piece together the pieces of their life that have been shattered and broken all throughout their experience and existence to bring themselves to an inner peace, recognizing that everything external merely happened because of what you are internally, right? So those of us who went through abuse, neglect, harm, any kind of way, like where you wasn't treated with love and kindness and gentleness, was because of the light within you. And so this is important to return to peace. And so, if you are one of those people, right, who've done this journey and you've done that work, then you're probably in 144,000. If you know somebody who's done these things, you can see it. It's not something they say, "Oh, look at me, I did it." No, you can see it. You can tell by their reactions, their responses, the company they keep, how they, behave. It's just natural. Um, everybody carries an energy signature, and you can definitely tell, especially if you are using your intuition. And so it's possible to see enlightened beings versus those who are pretending to be enlightened. Um, you can actually feel it. Um, but unless you have a Rolodex of energy, you can be fooled. So, uh, Next is the 144,000. What else is it about the 144,000? They have come here for a mission. So they all have a mission, a very purpose driven life. And so they won't typically work a 9 to 5 anywhere. They wouldn't even fit into that type of environment. They are eccentric, weird, probably even. And they have had to go through and endure a lot in order to make it to their greatest self. So, unfortunately, right, if you haven't had a life filled with constant attacks, physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, financial, um, you're probably not in the number of 144,000. If a person is telling you they are in the 144,000, but they don't really have any real life experiences to share with you, but they're telling you, "Oh, God told me I was in 144,000." I mean, they could be in the 144,000 of something. I don't know. But you'll know. So, if you are in 144,000, you don't need somebody to affirm it for you because you got a message telling you that you were in the 144,000. That message didn't come from no human being, so it wasn't me, it wasn't your sister, it wasn't your mother, it came to you, okay? And so, uh, now, twin flames. Uh, this has been going around the internet too, right? And it's another craze. What's twin flame? It's I saw something the other day that got me going on this. Actually, it said that all the twin flames were all men. I said people are ridiculous. So here we go. Twin flames are souls who have, just like the 144,000, have come here and taken on physical form to carry out a mission. They too have been here in previous incarnation and agreed to come back together in order to fulfill a contract. They are people who have went through a lot. Okay, more than likely they are in the 144,000, and which means that there is only so many twins. But anyway, uh, they have an earthly mission to liberate other people through their relationship and their connection. Their connection is not just a physical connection, but it is also a mental, spiritual, emotional. It is something different. It is not based upon money. It is not based upon looks. It is not based upon um, physical things, normal things that a relationship would be based upon. In order to make it to the twin flame journey, we must all endure a bunch of crap. So you got to go through your toxic phase, your karmic phase, soulmate phase, and then enter into the twin flame. Now, again, like I said earlier, not everybody is there on this journey. So in this lifetime, right now, this experience, it's only so many people who are actually in the number. Um, to ask yourself, and this is sad because a lot of people who are getting into spirituality and using it as a side step to therapy or as a catch all for their aversion to religion. Uh, it is a lot deeper than that, and we have to do a lot of work. But a lot of people can get caught up in this propaganda because it sounds good, right? And we want to fit into narratives that sound good. But the twin flame journey is not a good one um, in the practical because it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of a deep commitment to something you cannot see. So most of us ain't doing that. Like we're not committing to some shit that we can't see. Um, and everybody, there's even a new song out, "Twin." Where have you been? Everybody looking for their twin, right? And that's possible. It is possible, right? But you're gonna have to do some work to get there. And that means you got to clean up the karmic, the toxic shit first, okay? From the toxic, now you got to go into karmic. Once you go through the karmic phase, okay, you have to now get through that, clean up, heal that shit, and get into attracting soulmates. And once you have that experience and you have mastered that, now you can go into the twin flame. Most people ain't got down to the soulmate part yet, but whatever. Uh, don't be out here giving people labels or trying to fit into something just because it sounds fancy. Is really the point of this video. You know yourself. You know the work that you've done or have not done. You know where you are on your spiritual journey. No person can tell you that. But you are having the experience. So don't try to create narratives to make you feel good in the experience, trying to follow trends, because it'll merely take you off track and have you wasting a whole lot of time, and you should be getting in alignment with your assignment. Don't forget that people who control our social medias and all of this crap, they are controlling the narrative. And so this is why you see a heightened level of this new age nonsense out here. I've spoken on it before. I'll keep on speaking on it because it's the truth. Okay, and y'all know I'm gonna tell the truth as long as Didbit keep on turning. So the most important thing that you need to know on this journey is your intentions. Do you have integrity? And are you operating with the I am presence, which means with God? If so, then you're on the right track. Everything else is secondary to unnecessary. All of those labels and titles and who's the guru and who's the best looking, because ultimately it's a lot of work. And I can assure you that most of the people pandering ain't did the work. Matter of fact, that's my reminder to remind y'all and let you guys know, not even remind you guys, but to make you aware that the final three levels of the 9 levels of hell are coming out, and those levels are violence, fraud, and treachery. So don't miss those because it will touch on some of this pandering stuff that we see and why we see it within our spiritual community and why it's important for you to avoid it because it is definitely a trap and it is an orchestrated plan to keep you, if not nothing else, just delayed from getting to your position. Because in reality, there's nothing on this planet that can keep you from reaching your divinity except for you. Yes, you can totally deny yourself. You can totally just go against yourself, which is the highest blasphemy and the most only unforgivable form of blasphemy. So I would encourage you not to do so, and I'm going to always encourage you to remember you're great, you're amazing. You came on this planet to do things bigger than anybody on this planet has ever done in any generation, civilization, or lifetime prior to ours. And so, guess what? The attack is real, the enemies are too, but you shouldn't be phased because you know that you came because you're a badass. So, don't let things and people and their narratives trick you out of where you're going, your position. Don't let people trick you into idealizing and fantasizing about this whole healing thing because I think I did that video on Facebook, so I'll probably do it over here for y'all. The dirty side of spiritual awakening, you know, the dirty side of being in this suit and choosing to do the dirty work. And that's why I started calling it the dirty work, because you have to get down into the grudge of your own nonsense, of your own experience, and look at how you're creating it and where it's leading, and is it really where you want to go? And so nobody else can do that work for you. Only you can. And yeah, it sounds good to say I got a twin flame. It sounds good to say I'm in the 144,000. Sounds very heroic. But in reality, that's a lot of work that a lot of people truly ain't doing. I'm the Police Saint. I want to appreciate y'all and love y'all for getting up in here. Thank you for letting me give my knowledge and my time to you guys. I hope that this message helps somebody to remember. Don't be out here playing games with your spirituality. Don't play with your soul, and don't let nobody else play on your talk. Because listen here, you came for one thing and one thing only. Figure that out because it's individual to you. No person on the planet can tell you who it is or what it is. Only God, and you know what it is, and it's up to you to tap into that. And for that, you're gonna have to do some dirty work. I'm the Police Saint. I hope that this message helps somebody to remember you a motherfucking badass motherfucker, boy. And the motherfuckers out here, they fighting for you, boy. They get the whole fight. They want you bad. They want you bad. They want you bad. But listen here, you too valuable for any of that. And so don't give into illusions. Don't give in to confusion. Keep your eyes on the prize. Stay focused. Stay in high integrity. Keep your vibes high. Make sure that you're in the highest frequency, which is what? Love. Give it out to everybody, everywhere you go. And I promise you, it'll come back to you. I'm the Police Saint. This is my message for today. I'm sitting here sweating in the sun. I think my phone is like hot, hot, hot. And so I'm going to go ahead and let y'all get on up out of here. So make sure that you share this video with a friend. I don't care if you like me or if they gonna like me. Don't you worry about if they like me or not either, because you might deliver the message at the right time in the right moment for somebody to save them from going down a motherfucking rabbit hole or getting stuck in a web that they should not get stuck in. Because people ain't always operating in integrity. And so you got to make sure that you're covering your back out here because they want your money and your soul and anything else that you're willing to let go of. I love y'all. Go out today. Be great. Be amazing. I miss Big Kid Sunday because I was being a big kid. And so today is Monday. I know a lot of y'all at work and going to watch this later. And so I thank you guys for watching it. Thank you for supporting the channel. I finally got over 100 subscribers. Yeah, yeah. So, I guess I'm somewhat like I guess popular now on YouTube. I love y'all. Make sure y'all share the video, like the video, comment on the video, so that other people can get to see the video. And that's it. That's love, and I love y'all for it. So I'm out of here. Peace and wellness.